What's up, scrappy peeps? It's Del from Inky Quill, and today we are endeavouring to go on a craft room tour. I'm breaking this into two separate parts, so make sure that you tune in to part 2, which I think I'll be uploading tomorrow. I'm separating it into my mixed media, art journaling, junk journaling, traveller's notebook stuff first, and then in the second part I will focus on my scrapbooking supplies, project life, stickers, embellishments, that type of thing. I asked you guys what you wanted to see over on Instagram, and a lot of you said how to sort the two separate kind of worlds of paper crafting that I do, so I thought I'd split it up that way for something different. If you're new to my channel, I have many other craft room tours on both this channel and my main channel, Inky Quill. I've moved around quite a lot. This is the 4th location that this craft room's been in this house. We're moving to room 5 after I film this, because Bub is, while I'm filming this, she's 8 weeks away and so we need to move rooms and do all the things to make room for the nursery. So come along and I'll show you how I store my stuff. To start off with, I'll give you a bit of a walkthrough of the floor plan of the room. So you walk in and I have a large corner desk that I Frankenstein together from Ikea bits and pieces. I have a Patreon video that shows the complete desk design and build and setup for that, and I will put in the description below the names of all of these pieces, but basically it's a two corner desks, 2 short side desktops, Alex drawers, these large drawers which originally came with wheels, but I just took them off, and I just wanted to get a little bit more desk space in my area. And then if I turn you around very carefully, I have 2 Rascog trolleys which are mainly for embellishments, and then a bit of a inspiration wall with some bits and pieces that I've created. Behind my desk I have a brown old bookcase that I think we picked up at a garage sale somewhere. It was filled with books in a different room, and then when I redid this room I stole it for my own purposes. I don't think it's coming to the new craft room, so that'll be interesting to see how I'm going to reorganize all of that. And then to the right I have a 4x4 calyx unit from Ikea with a 2x4 calyx unit placed on top. And I know someone will ask about the studio lights as well. I bought these off eBay several years ago. I just typed in studio lights. There's lots of similar ones available on there. I think they're about $70 for the pair, but I think now they're about $100, and I put this one on my desktop. The other one goes to the floor. They're really handy. They do make project life filming a little bit tricky with the plastic page protector glare, but I'm very grateful that I have them because this room is not lit well. I've recently reorganized some of my mixed media supplies, so we'll go take a closer look at these drawers now. I think my main tip is to keep what you use most often closest to your desk so that you don't have to move around your room, and that you're more likely to put it away once you use it. Follow me on Instagram, I'm Inky Quill over there. You will know that I'm not very good at putting things away. So I recently reshuffled 3 of my 4 large drawers so that my mixed media was a little bit easier to get to. It was organized a bit clearer, just using containers that I had around the house and repurposing cardboard boxes and things, and I'm finding it's a lot better to stop the craft lanches, which are just piles of craft supplies that gather next to me while I'm filming. So this drawer has been amazing. It's my collage drawer, and prior to this setup I had my collage stuff shoved inside like a pizza sized box, and it was just a hodgepodge of everything, and it used to drive me crazy because I would only use what was on top. I never dived down into the bottom. It was all muddled up. There were bits that should have been thrown away in there, so I took about an hour to organise just my collage pieces, but I'm glad I did. Like I said, I will link all of the main furniture pieces in the description below. If there's anything else that I don't talk about that you'd like more info about, just let me know in the comments. So this is what I use for my art journaling, my junk journals, and These are some magazines that I pull some bits of Travelers for my Travelers notebook as well. There's all process videos on this channel if you want to see more of that. I bought this plastic container. It comes with a lid as well. I bought these from Kmart here in Australia and they were pretty cheap. I think they're about $8 or so. And I didn't mean for them to fit here. They're actually for my linen closet, but I put them in here because they seem to fit well. This back one, sorry, is all collagey bits that includes book pages, it includes note paper, it includes like bits of magazine text that I've ripped out. So that's all of my kind of background collage pieces, and I do enjoy rifling through that. So I was going to separate it into smaller sections, but I think that for me personally it would be too difficult to put things back where they belong. That's my big thing, and with a newborn and a toddler I definitely need the easiest way to clean up possible, rather than specifically putting things in perfect tiny categories. You might find that you need to separate it into smaller categories, and that's great too. You've just got to kind of figure out what works best for how you create. So that's that. Here I have some paper that I've ripped out of a Dilutions creative journal, and I've just popped it there in case I want to make painted papers. And then this one is my favourite. These are all painted papers. They're from like a jelly plate class that I filmed. There's all sorts of bits and pieces that I can use for collage, stenciling. There's some deli paper things, stuff on book pages, and I will admit putting this container of painted papers together made me want to make all of the things. I also have to apologise, it's an incredibly stormy, rainy day here in Australia today, and the shade cloth on the window just there is flapping. So if you hear that, I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry, I wish I could control the wind. These containers were also from Ikea. They are the, what's that called? Kugus, I think. And these were new. I hadn't seen them before, so they were new to me, and they're really, really handy there. I like that the lid is quite streamlined, and in this one I just keep all of my alphas that I've sadly retired from my scrapbooking supplies because they've run out of good like vowels and letters that are used quite often. So what I do is I like to chop them up and just put them in here, or if they're fonts that I'm not a fan of anymore, I just put them in here. I have 2 videos over on my Inky Quill channel about how I use leftover thickers, if you want some ideas there. My Tim Holtz mat is just here as well, and then this container's only got one thing in it. It's my vintagey kind of vibe. I do go towards more the bright colours, but I have a pack of the Tim Holtz collage people. I don't know what the name is, but that's the only thing that's in there. These are all magazines that I have started to rip up, that I am yet to go through. I don't buy magazines often. A lot of these are a couple of years old, but they're really handy for my style of art journaling that I like, and I really need to make an effort to just go through them and get rid of what I don't want, and I'll show you how I store all of the cutout bits in a moment. Down here quickly, these Alex drawers aren't getting used as much as they should. I need to redo them in the new craft space. Top one's empty. Second one has birthday cards that are meant to be in my Project Life album last year. This one has my paints that I reserve for canvases rather than in my art journal. And then the bottom one has my silhouette supplies. Over here I have, these are things that I have to film a haul video on. They've been there for 7 months waiting for me to film a haul video of, and sometimes I'll just pick at them and use a little bit and then I'll put it back. So that's my haul area. I often overthink hauls because I know a lot of people don't like to watch them, and sometimes it's a bit difficult because here in Australia we might have stores that you don't have internationally. So I often second guess myself and it just sits there for too long, and then I give up and I use the stuff. I do apologise also for my breathlessness. It's just the fun of third trimester. But we'll move on now to my paints and all of the yummy painty mixed media goodness. So like I said before, I have just redone these large drawers, and I'm finding it a lot easier to have my supplies, my painty mixed media supplies, separated by type. So it might look like a hodgepodge, but everything is in a separate container. So if I do want to work specifically on something, I am able to just lift the container out and put it on my desktop if I want to, or I can just pick from it from inside the drawer. So up the back I have a basket that's full of punches. I don't have a lot of punches. I use a lot of these for scrapbooking, but I also do like to use them in my junk journals and making some DIY embellishments. I basically just have simple shapes, circles, hearts, stars, nothing too exciting there. So they just live up the back, and because I don't have too many, I know what I've got, so I don't have to have them on display. I can kind of dig my hand up the back. That's the only downfall with some of the Ikea drawer products, is they don't come out as far as I wish they would, but you've got to work with what you've got. Then at the back here, I have a little box that has other textury things. That's the official name that I'm giving it. So there's some gold texture paste, there's some Inca gold, which is a texture paste, and there's some gold foil. You might notice that I like gold. I also recently rediscovered my watercolor pencils, so I've just popped those in there because it kept them nice and stable and they wouldn't get too lost. Up the back I have a container of alcohol inks. I have probably about 8 distress oxides, and I've just stacked them in a little basket. I only have colours, my main colours are pinks and blues, and so I know they're all in there. Over here I have my brayers just in a mug that I've stolen from the kitchen. I have a couple of tins of pens. I picked up these little tins from my local $2 shop. I really suggest, before you check out any of the big box stores or professional container shops, which can be very pricey for what you get, check out your local cheap shops and see what you can repurpose. Even mugs are a great way to store pens in your craft space. Whoops. I have some spare paintbrushes. This is an old candle holder, actually. I think that was left over from our wedding. And then these are my cheapy paints. So they're from my local $2 shop, $2.50. I like to use these with my jelly plate, especially if I know that I'm going to be using up a lot of paint. I'd rather use my cheaper ones than my more expensive paints, because art supplies are quite pricey here in Australia compared to the States. And then I have a smaller travel sized gesso, white gesso and clear gesso that I take with me when I go to retreats. In the corner here I have my favourite little tiny heart stickers. I bought a couple of extra packs, and I know that if I put them somewhere too buried in my craft supplies, I won't find them again. So if I put them here, I see them often and I can remember that they're there. I think that's everything. Oh, and these are just some spares. I love this fluoro pink paint, and I was worried that it was going to go out of stock, or I wouldn't be able to find it again, so I grabbed a couple of extra tubes and popped them in there. So that is painty drawer number 1. So this is a little creepy sneaky gap in between my drawers. I don't keep a lot here. It's kind of a good shop space if I have something big that I just need to get out of the way quickly. My laminator is in there, and then I keep my jelly plates. I have quite a few jelly plates. So I've got a round one, I've got my old faithful little square one, and then I have this giant set that has a little bit of everything. And because they are so large, it is awkward to store in there. And then at the back there is a basket of my traveller's notebook that I took travelling with me when we went on our holiday to Melbourne. All the process videos for that are on my Patreon, and the kit that I used for that, the creation of the kit, is over there as well. So I've just kept that in a basket and put it there so that the products that I'm using don't get confused with the rest of my supplies. When I asked on Instagram what people wanted to see in more focus in my craft room, a lot of people asked how to keep specific projects together, and baskets are your best friend, or boxes, whatever you can reuse, even if it's reusing like an empty nappy box or a carton that you get at the grocery shop, by putting it in a specific container and putting it in a designated spot, I find makes it more enticing to bring over to your craft space, rather than having to sift through and find all of the things that you were using last time. But I would suggest only having 2 of these baskets on the go at once. Otherwise you might put all of the contents of your craft or art space into all the baskets and not have anything left. So keep it to a maximum of 2. This next drawer is directly next to where I stand to film process videos, so it's my most used art supplies, which is how I differentiated what went in here and what went in the other drawer. Yes, it's only like 3 steps or 2 steps extra to the other drawer, but there's a difference when you're packing away as to having to move away from the camera when I'm mid-recording. So once again, I love using baskets, containers, even containers inside containers to store smaller things, and I find that it's easy to pack things away again. So first of all, in this back corner I have my watercolors. So I've got a couple of watercolor tins, I've got my Winsor & Newtons down the bottom there, and then some water soluble wax pastels as well. Then another mug that I have stolen from my kitchen, and that's just got all of my mermaid markers in it. I don't use them often, so that's why they're up the back. So I find that when I'm reorganizing, which I do quite often, I try to rotate the things that I'm using the most at the front, and then things that I don't use as often still in eyesight but tucked away a little bit more difficult to get to. I have another container that has all of my Liquitex acrylic inks, and I can't buy any more because they fit perfectly in that container by fluke, and then I won't have a home for any of the other ones. So that's what's there. I have a little bag of cheapy makeup sponges that I use for stenciling, and then these two, when I move the craft room, I'm thinking of having a one of those smaller Alex drawers to be a stationery section. I've put these in here so I don't lose them. This is actually for a journaling video that I want to film coming up, and just some blue tack for my gallery inspiration wall behind me. I've just put them there so that they don't get lost, basically. Then over this side I've got these Ranger, might be a bit difficult to get out, but they're large pencil cases by Ranger. This is a Dilutions one. These are really handy because whenever I go away on a scrapbooking crop, I will just take the entire bag with me, or sometimes I will cut it down so that I just take half of my colours and just take one of them. I've separated my paints into cool colours, so all of the blues, greens, there's not really any green in here, purple, black, and I think I put white in there as well. And then this one has all of my warm colours, yellows, oranges, pinks, reds, and there is a vibrant, like a fuchsia in here as well, because it's more of a pinky purple. So I find that it's really easy for me to know where my paints are if I separate them into warm and cool colours. So that's a tip if you want to reorganise your paints and try something different. Let's talk stamps, because oh boy, stamps are something in my craft room that I have a love-hate relationship with. Does anyone else? What supply in your craft room actually do you have a love-hate relationship with? I love background stamps. So things that I can use in my art journal that just give a little bit of texture to the background. There's a whole range of brands in here. Most of them are rubber, but there are some clear ones. Typically I use my background stamps not on an acrylic block, so I'll just bend them and move them so that I'm not getting the full image. I do have my acrylic blocks stored just at the side here. Both of these containers are just from a cheap shop, and then I have my larger sets just at the back here in, I think these are the Avery L little plastic pockets, and then some of them are still in the original packaging, and then there's bigger ones across the back there. I love background stamps, but the other stamps I struggle with storing, and I'll show you those when in the next part when I talk about the scrapbooking supplies and how I store things. I don't have many wooden stamps. I only have 2 and then a little alphabet set, so I just pop those here, and then a giant roller stamp, and then I just keep, I don't have a lot of inks, so typically when I do background stamping I only use black, so I just have StazOn, and then I have this fab one that has a few different colours if I want to try different colours out. And then just down here I keep my 2 most used mediums. Apart from gesso, I have my matte gel medium, and then I have my flexible modelling paste in a behemoth of a heavy container. I just keep them here because I do use them quite a lot. Now let's look at the tabletop, because this is where I spend most of my time. I have, now this needs changing, but I like the prettiness. I like looking at it. It gives me a bit of inspiration. I will show you at the end of the video where I store my completed journals, because it's not here. However, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 completed journals there that shouldn't be there. So these are my works in progress. I'll give you a bit of a closer look at what some of my current journals are. So these are my current journals because I get bored really easily. If you are a subscriber to my channel, you'll know that I have 50 million projects going at once. That's how my mind kind of works. I get it going binges and phases, but I have 2 traveler's notebook journals on the go, and I'll give you a little look inside. I have 2 of these Jane Davenport, are they A5? They're about A5, smaller journals. I've got a Use It Up journal, which is a Dilutions creative journal. I have a junk journal that I made, and a larger creative journal. And then I also have this, which I store there, which is a childhood album project that I'm working on as well. So I'll just give you a quick look to kind of show you what supplies I use and how I use them. This is my traveler's notebook, and I use a lot of stickers, I use a lot of photos, and just little bits and pieces that I want to use up. I do a lot of brush lettering, so I use a mixture of stickers as well as washi tape and all bits and pieces. This doesn't really involve any mixed media, just because of the paper that's in the insert that I'm using. So there's lots of journal with me process videos here on this channel if you want to see more of that. This one is my travel journal that I put together for my trip to Melbourne last year, and it's got a whole lot of bits and pieces. All the process videos for that are on my Patreon. Then I have this one, which is my colour journal, and this is a Patreon only one where I've been studying different colours and working through different colour families. Then I have my Use It Up journal, which is where I highly recommend getting one of these if you are into mixed media, or even just if you use mixed media in your scrapbooking. This is where I just slap in extra paint that I've got. If I've dirtied a stencil by using it, I will chuck it in here, and it gives me backgrounds that I can work on and create art journaling pages for next time. So this one's still a work in progress. There's not many empty pages left actually, so that one needs some final touches put on it. This is a new journal that I've started working in, it was for my 100-day project, which I failed because first trimester hit, and I've still got lots of pages to fill there. Then I've got my junk journal, just all the journals. I have a junk journal class coming out at some point. I just need to edit it, and that's a lot of painty fun in there, but I've still got lots of pages to fill up. And then my final journal is this one, which is what I would call my regular art journal, which is where I create. I've been using it a bit like a Use It Up journal lately, and I've only just started it, so there's not, are there many spreads? No, I don't think there's many that are done in this one. Maybe there's one at the front. Oh, there we go. So they're the journals that I'm working in. Lots of different things, but they all require different supplies. Love to keep all my journals close by to where I'm filming, because quite often, like you'll see, I'll grab one and just slap in some extra paint, like my Use It Up journal. But I don't know what I'm going to do in the new craft space, because I won't have a shelf behind my desk. So that's a work in progress. I get my 2 bottles of gesso, just nice and handy so that I can reach them. And of course my paintbrushes and water that I use most often. Wouldn't suggest keeping your paintbrushes in water like that. I try to turn them upside down so that the brushes don't get frayed and messed up at the end. And I also keep my apron just up there. Not that I remember to wear it. I should wear it more often. And the final piece to this part of the craft room tour, the mixed media-y part, I'm going to show you are these 2 cubes, and then the one above it just has some extra art journals, traveler's notebook covers that I'm not using at the moment, or that I've started but I'm not in the mood to complete them yet. So some of them are works in progress, but I'm not currently working in them, so they just stay there. But these 2 shelves I use quite often, and they're right next to where I film so that I can grab stuff and it doesn't affect I'm not gone from my process video for 2 minutes rifling through things. I've used those same containers from Ikea, and we'll go in and have a closer look at those. And then these white ones are also, I think, from Ikea. The blue magazine rack, I think, is from Kmart. So these containers are the same ones that I showed you over in the collage drawer, and I just wrote on them with a Sharpie permanent texter. The Sharpie was a bit thinner than I had wanted, so my writing is a bit shaky, but it does the job. This first one is serviettes, and I think they're called napkins in other places. We typically call them serviettes here, and I use these for collage in my art journal pages, my backgrounds. I've just got a whole collection of different ones here, and because the container's nice and small, it's not difficult to rifle through. And then in here I have a separate container for my traveler's notebook supplies, and I still do use a lot of my scrapbooking stickers and just my general washi tape, but quite often there will be things that I don't think that I'll use on a scrapbook page, so I'll put it in here. It might be that it's a better shape to the style of my traveler's notebook. I also have this little thing left over from my 100-day project, which I'm pretty sure has a flip through, my 2018 one. I did recently, I think, upload a flip through, if my timing is correct in my scheduling. And then there's a lot of images that subscribers have sent me in some happy mail that I want to include, and the ends of sticker sheets that I want to use up. So typically when I use my TN, I will grab this box first and see what I can use from that before diving into my normal scrappy supplies. And then this one, as the name suggests, tissue and vellum. It's also got foam, craft foam in there, and my gold glitter paper, but I always associate those with these, so I didn't need to write them all on here. I've just got white tissue and pattern tissue, and my gold glitter is under there, craft foam, and then right down the bottom are all of my vellum offcuts. So that is that shelf. Down here are my most used pens. So these are my beloved paint pens. They're all Posca, I think, just because it's readily available here. That's what I can get. And then in this one, I keep my brush markers. So they're just Tombow Dual brush markers, and then the Artline Sticks brush markers, which are a great, cheaper alternative if you want to get into brush lettering. Oh, let's see if that falls down mid-filming. Very likely. And then I have black and white. I have a bit of a thing about throwing out paint pens. I'm like, you can do one more page. You got this paint pen, but quite often they just need to go in the bin. I need to go through this and figure out what works and what no longer works. Down here, I have a magazine holder, and I've been a bit naughty, and I've been ripping out pages for art journaling but not putting it in my folder where I keep all of my collage images. This is a couch job that I'm leaving until the end of my pregnancy, because I think it'll be a nice productive thing to do while I just sit with my feet up and not achieve anything else. But I do keep all of my collagey bits and pieces in this display folder. I have a video on Patreon showing how I put this together, but I've got different categories for different things, different page protectors, and it's just made it so much easier to sort through and know where all of my bits and pieces are. So that is that shelf, which I do often move these onto my desk when I am filming a video. I hope that video gave you some ideas about how to set up your craft room, gave you some inspiration if you want to reorganize anything. I'm no expert, definitely not. I love reorganizing things and changing things around to suit, because we do go in ebbs and flows of our style and what products we like, and I think it's important that your craft room or craft space changes to suit you and make it pregnancy brain, make it easier for you to find your supplies quickly and get the most out of them, rather than wasting half of your creating time fishing through and trying to find stuff. So hope this helped you out. I will be uploading the second part of this craft room tour tomorrow, and that will show all of my scrapbooking things, my sticker storage, the RAS cogs, my paper storage. Oh, I will quickly show you before I finish how I store my finished journals. So this is another set of a 2x4 calyx and a 4x4 calyx on top of each other, and these are in my front door foyer, and up the top here is where I keep my finished journals. But you can see I don't get to enjoy the prettiness of the pages, so I'm thinking of actually moving my finished journals from here and keeping them in my craft room, but then keeping all of my many scrapbook albums out here. Thanks for watching, peeps. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and if you got some ideas from it, and I'll see you tomorrow with the second part.